NFL, the National Football League, divided equally between the American Football League and the National Football Conference, has been a staple in the American sports system since 1920. These NFL teams are a big success. 32 in number and 28 are valued at over $2 billion. What is it that makes these teams worth this much? To get the answer to this question, you must be familiar with what it takes to start your franchise and how do they generate this revenue. Stay with us until the end of the video as we are going to discuss all this. As fans, we witness the nail-biting games, competitions, stat lines, and our favorite players, and in doing all this, we forget that it is a business. So there must be some stats behind its success. It needs revenue for smooth working just like other businesses. Owners pay huge amounts of money to buy the players and teams. This business model is quite interesting as it is broken into two different sides, national revenue and local revenue. TV ratings for these games also took nosedives in 2016 and 2017. NFL and most famous franchises. The most recent franchise that started working was in 2002. Starting a new franchise is not everyone's cake, as a huge amount must be paid in the name of a franchise fee. Most of these franchises began in 1920 when the National Football League started. The registration fee of the franchise was $100 at the time, and it raised gradually. In 1960, the Dallas Cowboys paid millions to enter the club. In 2002, when the recent team joined the league, they had to pay $700 million for registration. Most franchisees are still controlled by families who started them earlier, while others have been sold and got new owners. Chicago Barrier, found in 1920 by George Halas, is still under his family belt. His 95-year-old daughter, Virginia McCaskey, owns it, and the franchise is worth $2.9 billion. If you also want to buy an NFL team, then you must keep in mind that they are now in billions of dollars. Buffalo Bulls cost around $1.4 billion, while Carolina Panthers was sold for $2.2 billion. Ways by which NFL generates revenue. The record sales take us to the point where we think about the return they provide after their huge investment. Let's look at a single team simultaneously to see this in detail. We have Green Bay Packers at the top. This is a non-profit organization, so they have kept their access to annual funding open. They had reserves of $454.9 million. All other teams had private owners, but still Forbes is bound to release their income annually. The price of teams is associated with the revenue of the historical buildings of stadiums and the non-NFL events taking place at these stadiums. According to Forbes, Dallas Cowboys generated $864 million in revenue, $593 million for the England Patriots, while the New York Giants went for $493 million. Teams do not develop much income as most of it results from direct events held by the NFL. TV deals help them to generate $8 billion. This amount raised is national revenue and free, independent of the team's performance. Local revenue. Besides this, the NFL teams also generate some local revenue, which was quite a handsome amount during the sessions of 2017 and 2018. The local revenue of the Packers was 43% of the total revenue. Ticket sales and stadium attendance generated. Game days are crucial for developing money, but some non-NFL events like concerts and exhibitions can also be held at the stadiums. Packers paid over $370 million to upgrade the Lambeau Field, and thousands of seats were added during this renovation. This renovation increased ticket sales from $48 million to $71 million. Apart from it, some corporate sponsors also help in fundraising, like Philadelphia has more than 40 corporate sponsors. The total sponsored revenue was more than $1.3 billion during the same season. New York Giants and New York Jets have the same stadium named MetLife Stadium, and according to the New York Times, the deal was $19 million for around 15 years, and is the highest naming rights deal of the NFL. Total revenue and operating income. We must not see only the revenue, as many expenses are associated with them. We have seen that the Green Bay Packers have generated around $454.9 million, and more than $420 million were used for expenses like player costs and bill payments. After all this, an operating income of around $38.5 million was left with the franchise. Cowboy, Patriots, and Giants have huge expenses which eat most of their generated revenue. Their operating income is $365 million and $235 million respectively. Of all 32 teams that generate this revenue, some franchises are strapped for money. Have a look at the Detroit Lions. In 2017, their total revenue was $361 million, with an operating income of $4.1 million. One must not forget that TV is the major source of watching NFL games. The ratio of people watching the games increased gradually. During the 2016 and 2017 seasons, NFL experienced a 5% growth in revenue, and the most watched TV shows were also the ones broadcasting NFL games. Verizon signed a $2.5 billion deal for the live streaming of NFL games. Besides this, many more streaming contracts have been signed so far, and this kind of streaming application is supposed to surpass the TV figure. Tom Spock, founding partner of Scalar Media and a former NFL business executive, said that we have many more entertaining options in this digital world, but still sports are worth more than ever. NFL can also provide the premium opportunity of entertainment to its viewers. While seeing all this, you must consider what NFL provides its players. Well, a specific amount is allocated for the benefit of players along with their regular salaries. Benefits include pension funds, group insurance, medical, and certain per diems. 55% of the league media money generated by the broadcasting of games is reserved for the players. They also get 45% of the money from the NFL ventures. The postseason revenues include the revenue generated during postseason games and other NFL entities like NFL.com, NFL Productions, etc. The amount allocated for the players' salaries and benefits is calculated by subtracting the amount reserved for benefits, as this money is not a part of the player's salary. The term salary cap is quite important in the NFL sector. If you do not know this, we must clarify that the amount of players' salaries divided by 32, the total number of NFL teams, gives us a salary cap for all teams. CBA has made it mandatory for all teams to follow this rule strictly and must spend 95% of the salary cap on player contracts from the upcoming sessions. This salary cap will also increase when NFL becomes more lucrative after some huge deals with Microsoft and other known platforms. It was the overall breakdown of the NFL generating money, but still a lot more changes need to be made in football. Outside of it, whether they are concerts or other events, NFL owners surely know the secret of making money from their teams, making the process lucrative. Believe it or not, the sport is quite popular in the States. This video surely made you learn something interesting. If so, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel as we release this sort of interesting content regularly.